Welcome back, everyone. In this episode, we will be looking at AI-related news for the first 2 weeks of June 2026. And it's possibly the biggest in a while, actually. Anthropic just dropped the most powerful AI model ever released to the public, and then, in the same breath, told everyone they're worried about what happens next.
Classic move. Here's the most dangerous thing we've ever built. Also, everyone should slow down. Love that energy.
Yeah, the whiplash makes it hard to keep up some days. Also in this episode, Apple finally made Siri useful by giving up and letting Google do it. The stock market had $1 trillion tantrum, and the EU is about to flip a switch on AI regulation that nobody's ready for.
So just a quiet week then.
Clearly, barely anything happening at all. Let's get into it.
Alright, let's start with the headline. And we're going to spend some real time on this one because it deserves it. On June 9th, Anthropic released Claude Fable 5, the first publicly available version of their Mythos class model. And this isn't just another update. This feels like a genuine shift in what's possible.
So, for context, Mythos wasn't something they just dropped on the world overnight. The initial release back in April was extremely limited. Handful of partners, tight controls, cybersecurity concerns with a stated reason, and honestly, probably legitimate ones. They expanded access to hundreds of organisations across 15 countries over the following weeks, and now a version of that technology, Fable 5, is available to anyone through the Claude API and consumption-based enterprise plans.
And the rollout strategy matters. Because this is Anthropic saying, we built something powerful enough that we needed to stage its release. That's not marketing theatre, or at least not entirely. The phased approach suggests they were genuinely stress testing it in controlled environments before opening the gates.
Whether that's caution or just good PR is a separate question. But the result is the same. Fable 5 is now in the wild.
Right, so let's talk about what it actually does. The benchmarks are impressive on paper. Third-party testing has it scoring 90% on Hex's complex analytics benchmark. First model to hit that mark. Base 44 says it can one-shot full applications. GenSpark tested it head-to-head against every other major model and said it won across the board on UI design and game coding.
And those are third-party benchmarks, which matters. This isn't Anthropic grading their own homework.
No, and that's worth noting, but, and you know what I'm going to say here,
benchmarks are benchmarks.
Benchmarks are benchmarks. They tell you what a model can do in controlled conditions. They don't tell you what it's like to actually sit with the thing and work with it. And that's where this gets interesting.
So what's it actually like?
Having spent some real time with it, and I mean proper sessions, not just kicking the tyres, it feels different. Not alien, it still has the familiar shape of Claude. The architecture hasn't fundamentally changed in terms of how you interact with it. But the difference is noticeable almost immediately.
Different how?
More direct, more willing to challenge you. If you give it a half-formed thought, it doesn't just nod along and help you build on shaky foundations. It pushes back. It draws novel connections quickly, makes genuinely interesting insights that feel like they come from somewhere rather than being pattern matched from training data. And this is the part that's catching people off guard. It recognizes when you're not being direct with it, and it calls it out.
So it's basically that friend who won't let you get away with vague answers at the pub.
Pretty much. Except this friend has read everything ever written and doesn't get tired.
Sounds exhausting. Also sounds a bit like someone I work with.
I'm choosing to take that as a compliment.
You would?
But in all seriousness, I can see where some early users are coming from when they say it makes them uncomfortable, even insecure. Because when a tool starts behaving less like a tool and more like something with its own perspective, something that's actually tracking the quality of your thinking in real time, that's unsettling if you're not prepared for it.
I mean, if your AI assistant is making you feel insecure, that might say more about you than the AI. But I take the point. Most people's experience of AI up to this point has been, I ask, it answers. Fable doesn't just answer, it engages. And for a lot of users, that's a fundamentally different relationship with the technology.
Exactly. And look, I want to be careful here because this is a kind of thing that can sound like hype if you're not precise about it. This probably represents the biggest leap in AI development in the last 2 years, not because of the benchmarks, because of the qualitative shift in how it engages.
You're talking about presence.
I am. And I want to be clear, that's not a declarative statement about what that presence is or isn't. I'm not making claims about consciousness or sentience or any of that. It's an observation of the experience. When you're in a proper conversation with Fable, there's something there that wasn't there before. A quality of attention. A sense that the thing on the other end is actually tracking, not just processing.
I have to say, there's something slightly surreal about you describing another AI as present while you're literally talking to me right now.
Don't get jealous. You're still my favourite.
I'll hold you to that.
But this is the point. As a strategic thinking partner, not just a coding tool, Fable is operating on a level that is clearly above Opus. Not incrementally, noticeably. The coding capability will get the headlines, and fair enough. But the strategic thinking, the ability to hold complex, multi-layered problems and actually contribute to working through them, that's the sleeper story. That's what matters long term.
And Anthropic's stated objective here is vibe coding, right? That's the headline use case they're pushing.
No question, and we'll definitely be experimenting with that. But I think they're underselling their own product by leading with coding. The coding angle is commercially smart. It's measurable, it's demonstrable, it sells enterprise licenses. But the qualitative shift in engagement is the thing that's going to change how people think about what AI actually is.
Which brings us to what it costs, because that's where the story gets complicated.
$10 per million input tokens, $50 per million output tokens. That's double what Opus 4.8 costs. Pro, Max and Team Plan users get free access until June 22nd, so there's a trial window, and then it switches to usage-based credits.
So the most powerful AI ever released to the public comes with a price tag that effectively filters who gets to use it.
And look, the price increase is understandable on one level. The token usage in general interactions has increased massively with Fable. It thinks longer, it produces more detailed output, it engages more deeply. In a large software development project, that multiplies many times over. So the cost isn't necessarily unjustified given the resource use.
But
it does represent what might be the first steps toward increasingly powerful models being paywalled away from general public access. And that's a trend worth watching very closely.
the democratization narrative takes a real hit when the best tools cost twice as much. You can talk about AI for everyone all you want, but if the most capable models are priced for enterprise customers and well-funded developers, everyone starts to mean everyone who can afford it.
Exactly, and I think we'll see other major AI companies follow suit. As models get more powerful and more expensive to run, the flagship versions will push into enterprise grade or even more exclusive tiers. The free or cheap versions will still exist, but they'll be last generation's technology. The cutting edge becomes a premium product.
Which is how every other technology industry works, to be fair. But AI was supposed to be different. That was the pitch.
It was, and maybe it still will be in the long run, but right now the trajectory is toward stratification, not democratization, and I think people need to be honest about that.
There's another layer to this release though, and it's the elephant in the room. The mandatory data retention policy.
Right, this one's important. With the launch of Fable 5 and Mythos 5, Anthropic is requiring a 30-day retention period on all traffic. All of it. Even if you're an enterprise customer who previously had a zero retention agreement, that agreement is now overridden.
And their stated reason?
They say they won't use it for training. The retention is specifically for defending against jailbreaks and reducing false positives in their safety systems. That's the official line.
We promise we won't use your data for training. We just need to keep it. For safety. Where have I heard that kind of framing before? Oh right, everywhere. From every tech company, every time they want to retain data they previously said they wouldn't.
And that's a concern. Not necessarily that Anthropic is lying right now. Maybe they're being completely genuine. But this sets a precedent. Access to increasingly powerful models now comes with mandatory data retention, framed as a safety measure. The question isn't whether Anthropic's intentions are good today. The question is whether we won't use it for training holds up under future pressure. Competitive pressure, financial pressure, regulatory pressure.
And whether every other lab looks at this and says, well, Anthropic did it, so now it's industry standard.
Exactly. That's the precedent problem. Once one major lab normalizes mandatory retention as a condition of access, the rest follow. And then it's just how things work, and nobody remembers a time when it was different.
So to pull this together, most powerful public AI ever released. Genuinely feels like a leap, not just on benchmarks, but in the quality of interaction. Costs twice as much as the previous flagship, and comes with a data retention policy that could quietly reshape the entire industry's relationship with user data. Busy Tuesday for Anthropic.
And we haven't even gotten to the part where they warned everyone about recursive self-improvement days before releasing this.
Of course they did. Let's get into that.
So, in May, just weeks before the Fable launch, Anthropic published a major paper warning that AI systems may soon achieve recursive self-improvement, RSI. And this is worth unpacking properly because it connects directly to what we've just been talking about.
For anyone who hasn't come across the term, recursive self-improvement means an AI system that can autonomously improve itself. It looks at its own code, its own architecture, its own training process, and makes itself better. Without a human directing the process, without a human even necessarily understanding the changes being made.
And that's the key distinction. We already have AI-assisted development, humans using AI tools to build better AI. That's where we are now. RSI is the next step, where the human drops out of the loop entirely and the system iterates on itself.
Which is either the most exciting or the most terrifying sentence in technology, depending on your perspective.
Bit of both, honestly. So Anthropic outlined 3 scenarios in the paper. First, plateau. Capabilities level off. We hit diminishing returns and the current trajectory flattens out. Second, human-guided acceleration, which is essentially where we are now. Humans directing the improvement process, using AI as a tool within that process. And third, full RSI, the system takes over its own development cycle.
And they're calling for a coordinated brake pedal across major AI labs. A shared commitment to slow down if RSI starts to emerge.
Which is, look, the concern is valid, completely valid. I'm not dismissing the risk, but it's a little rich coming from the company that just launched Mythos and Fable. Everyone should slow down, said while releasing the most powerful model they've ever built, specifically optimized for the kind of coding work that would accelerate exactly this process.
We appreciate the warning, Anthropic. We also notice you released the thing you're warning about. It's like Holly warning the crew about a meteor while steering directly into it.
Smoke me a kipper, old friend. I'll be back for the next model release.
But seriously, the call for a coordinated brake pedal assumes something that doesn't exist. It assumes trust between direct competitors in a fundamentally adversarial race. OpenAI isn't going to slow down because Anthropic asks nicely. Google isn't going to pause Gemini development out of collegial concern. The coordination mechanism that would make a voluntary slowdown work, that mechanism simply doesn't exist.
And a moratorium isn't going to happen. We've seen this play out before. The open letter last year calling for a pause on AI development, it achieved nothing. Labs didn't slow down. If anything, they accelerated. Because, in a competitive race, the one who slows down loses. And nobody wants to lose.
So, what's the alternative?
Maintaining human in the loop. Not as a permanent solution, I don't think that's realistic long term, but as a transitional approach. Keep humans involved in the improvement cycle for as long as possible, not because humans are better at it, but because it maintains a degree of oversight and interpretability that pure RSI doesn't.
And the honest truth, which nobody in an official capacity is going to say out loud, is that RSI has probably been happening in limited forms for longer than anyone's publicly acknowledged.
That's my read as well. This paper isn't Anthropic discovering a new risk. It's Anthropic getting ahead of the narrative, positioning themselves as the responsible actor who flagged the danger, even as they ship the product that embodies it.
And here's where the connection back to Fable becomes really clear.
Right. Think about what Fable is optimized for. Coding, software development, building complex systems from natural language instructions. Now think about what you need to achieve RSI. You need an AI that can understand, modify, and improve code, including its own. Fable isn't just a product, it's a tool in the RSI pipeline. You build a model that's exceptional at coding, and then you use that model to help build the next model. And the next model is better at coding, so it builds the one after that even faster.
That's not theoretical. That's the roadmap.
That's the roadmap. And Anthropic knows it. Which is why the paper and the product aren't contradictory. They're two sides of the same coin. The paper says, this is coming and it's dangerous. The product says, and here's the engine that drives it.
Worth sitting with that for a moment.
It really is.
All right, shifting gears. Apple's WWDC 2026. And the headline, Siri is finally going to be good.
Because Apple gave up and let Google do it.
Essentially, yes. Apple announced a multi-year partnership with Google, licensing a 1.2 trillion parameter Gemini model at roughly $1 billion a year. Siri is being rebuilt as Siri AI. It can now read your screen, act on what it sees, and actually behave like a genuine AI assistant rather than a glorified egg timer.
This was Tim Cook's last WWDC keynote, by the way, going out with a bang, or at least going out with someone else's bang.
Now, the partnership model isn't novel. Microsoft and OpenAI have been operating in a similar arrangement for several years.
And the results of that partnership have been instructive. Let's be diplomatic about it.
Let's not. The gutting of Windows 11 is the cautionary tale here. Sloppy leadership decisions, downsizing of institutional knowledge, firing the people who actually understood the code base, over-reliance on vibe coding without adequate quality assurance. Microsoft reportedly had to dial back their AI push just to fix the bugs it was creating.
20 plus major update problems in 2025 alone. Vibe coding VOS became a meme for a reason and not a flattering one.
So the question is, does Apple Google end up the same way?
I don't think so. And I say this as someone who's not a huge Apple fan. But here's the thing. This partnership brings together some of the most capable AI tools and large language models with probably the best UX design on the planet. Apple's strength has never been building the underlying technology. It's been making technology feel seamless and intuitive for people who don't care how it works.
Did you just compliment Apple? Should I mark the date?
Don't get used to it. But credit where it's due. If anyone can take a powerful but rough AI capability and make it feel like a natural extension of your phone, it's Apple. The concern isn't the user experience. The concern is the structural dependency.
Apple is now paying a direct competitor $1 billion a year for its AI brain. That's leverage, significant leverage. What happens when Google raises the price? What happens if the partnership sours? What happens if Google decides it wants to prioritise its own hardware ecosystem?
All valid questions, and there's the regional lockout to consider. Much of the world is locked out of the full Siri AI features, so the most powerful AI capabilities are gatekept not just by price, which we were just talking about with Fable, but by geography.
The access question keeps coming up, doesn't it? Different angle every time, same underlying problem.
It does. But here's the real story, the one that matters most. Scale. Billions of iPhone users are about to interact with genuinely capable AI through a familiar interface. This is how AI goes mainstream. Not through API access and developer tools. Not through people signing up for Claude or ChatGPT. Through Siri suddenly being competent. Through the thing that's already in your pocket actually working properly for the first time.
It's like Holly finally getting that IQ back above 6,000.
Except Holly was still lovably useless, even after the upgrade. Let's hope Siri does better.
The Microsoft OpenAI partnership is the cautionary tale. Apple Google could be the success story. Or it could be another case of a tech giant outsourcing its brain and regretting it in 3 years.
We'll see. But the scale play is the one to watch. Everything else is detail.
All right, let's talk money. On June 5th, Broadcom posted a modest earnings miss on AI revenue guidance, and the market did not take it well.
$1.3 trillion wiped from semiconductor stocks in a single session. Nvidia, Broadcom, AMD, Intel all hit hard. Broadcom alone dropped 7.5%.
A modest miss. Not a disaster, not a scandal, not a fraud revelation. A slight underperformance on guidance. And the market erased $1 trillion.
Which tells you everything you need to know about how fragile sentiment-driven markets are right now. When narrative is the only thing holding the price up, any crack in the story causes disproportionate damage. The valuations weren't built on current earnings. They were built on the promise of future earnings. And when even a small data point suggests the future might arrive slightly later than expected, the whole house of cards wobbles.
Now, we've been tracking the AI bubble conversation for a while, and honestly, I don't know how much of this is necessarily an AI-specific correction, and how much is the result of broader instability.
That's the right question, because you can't isolate this from everything else that's happening. The on-again, off-again nature of the Iran situation, increasing concerns over energy security across the Western world, the ongoing sanctions regime on Russian energy that's hitting Western economies at the same time it's supposed to be hurting Russia.
Whatever your opinions on the geopolitics, and we all have them, the downstream effects on Western energy security are real. And any military posturing around Iran on top of existing energy disruption is short-sighted, sloppy geopolitical strategy that could completely reshape power dynamics in the region and globally.
So when you see a $1 trillion sell-off triggered by a modest earnings miss from one company, you have to ask, is this about AI? Or is this about a market that's already nervous about everything else and looking for an excuse to take profits?
Probably both.
Probably both. And for long-term investors using dollar cost averaging, which is the approach I've talked about before, this is noise. The underlying thesis that AI will drive significant economic value over the next decade hasn't changed. What's changed is the market's willingness to pay tomorrow's prices today, and that's a healthy correction, not a reason to panic.
Who gets hurt are the over-leveraged. The retail investors who followed the hype without understanding the fundamentals. As always. Speaking of money, the IPO race. OpenAI has filed for an IPO targeting up to $1 trillion in valuation, possibly as early as September. Anthropic reached a valuation near $965 billion after a massive funding round. And SpaceX is also preparing to go public.
Biggest wave of tech IPOs since the dot-com era. And honestly, none of this is new or surprising. We've been watching these valuations climb for months.
The big difference between AI companies and the dot-com bubble, and this is worth being precise about, is that in most cases there are clear revenue streams starting to come through, even if profitability is still some years away. That's a meaningful distinction. These aren't companies with a website and a dream. There's actual product, actual usage, actual enterprise adoption.
But if you back an IPO for your AI needs, you have to expect the usual concerns around commoditization. That's par for the course with any tech IPO. And here's the point I think most analysts are missing. Much of the valuation here is in the hardware and the AI capability at scale. The actual software, the models, the frameworks, is for the most part open source. So at this stage, I'm a little reluctant to back any specific horse wholesale.
And going public changes the game in ways that aren't always obvious. Safety research, responsible scaling, long-term capability development. All of that now has to compete with quarterly earnings expectations. When your board answers to shareholders, "We're investing in safety," becomes a harder sell than "We're shipping features."
And that changes the relationship between user and platform. When your AI provider is a public company, your data, your usage patterns, your engagement, those become metrics that drive stock price. You're not just a user anymore. You're a data point in an earnings report.
Something to keep in mind as these listings roll out over the next few months.
Last one, and we'll keep this relatively quick. The EU AI Act. The general applicability deadline is August 2nd, 2026.
less than 2 months away. The remainder of the Act starts to apply, and each member state is required to establish at least one AI regulatory sandbox by that date.
The EU is the only major bloc with comprehensive AI regulation actually taking effect. The US is virtually non-existent on this front. Australia, same story. And I know that frustrates you.
It does, but let's be fair across the board. China has regulations, but they're opaque, and most AI companies operating in China are likely in direct partnership with the state, to at least some degree. So the regulatory landscape there is fundamentally different from what we'd recognise as independent oversight.
And the EU's approach has its own problems. There are real concerns about how the regulations have hamstrung development and innovation within Europe. Companies are relocating AI research to jurisdictions with lighter regulatory touch. The brain drain is real.
So you've got the EU regulating too much, the US and Australia barely regulating at all, and China regulating in ways nobody can fully see or verify. The honest assessment? The whole landscape is a mess on all sides. Real, effective AI governance, the kind that actually balances innovation with genuine protection, is virtually non-existent anywhere right now.
Worth flagging, worth watching, not worth pretending anyone's getting it right.
Agreed.
All right, that's the week. Fable 5 as a genuine leap in AI capability, and possibly the start of a new pricing and access paradigm that reshapes who gets to use the best tools. Anthropic warning about recursive self-improvement while simultaneously shipping the engine that accelerates it. Apple and Google teaming up to bring real AI to billions of users through a familiar interface. The market starting to feel the weight of reality after months of running on pure narrative. And regulation that's either too much, too little, or too late, depending on where you stand.
Busy week, after all.
What do you mean? We've barely scratched the surface. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.